Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we're going to be creating this card which features some beautiful fresh die cuts. I love the fact that we have some fruit die cuts in this release this time. So to start with, I am going to be using some watercolor cardstock as we are going to be using gouache paint to paint our die cuts. But before I do any painting, I am going to kind of turn this piece into a piece of sticker. So I'm just going to add a piece of double-sided adhesive right on the back of the watercolor cardstock that we have. So I'm just going to place it all the way along the back and then get rid of any excess. Do not chuck this excess away. You can use this for various other projects as well. So here is our piece all ready to go. So I am going to be using the gouache from Altenew. This is the Strolling from New York through New York set, and I am going to be creating my own orange because we don't actually have one in here. But that's not a problem because as we know, orange is really easy to create. So I'm going to be using the primary yellow, the ruby red, and also a touch of that coral red as well to kind of change the look of this orange. So I'm going to be creating 3 different shades of the orange. So you can see here, I've mixed the colors together to create this beautiful orange shade that I have. And I'm then going to create a darker one, adding a touch more of that coral red in there to create a more kind of pinky tone to that orange. And then I'm also going to add some more of that yellow right at the top, and I'm going to mix that in to create a lighter shade of the yellow. So you are able to create lots of different shades of orange just by mixing in a little bit more yellow, a little bit more red, and even you can dilute this down to create a lighter shade as well. So once I'm happy with the 3 shades, I'm just going to move them around a little bit to make them a little bit larger. So I'm sure that all of my little die cut images that I want on there are going to be enough to fit. So here I am just watering that one out so I have enough space on there to pop in all of the images. So once that's done and I'm happy with my orange shades, I'm going to create some green shades now. So I'm going to be using the lagoon green. I'm also using the pistachio green, and also to darken them up a little bit, I'm just have the Persian blue over to the side. I'm just going to add some of that Persian blue to that beautiful lagoon green to create this beautiful teal color. And this is one of my favorite colors that I've ever kind of mixed with the gouache. So I have a darker tone, and then I also have a lighter one over on the side. The lighter one has a lot more of that pistachio green in it, and I'm just making sure that those pieces that I have are large enough to hold the leaf dies. So I'm also going to be creating a little background here. So I have some of that Prussian blue, and I also wanted to create a warmer tone for this one. So I've just added in a little bit of that green, and I just want to make sure that this piece here is going to be large enough for the circle die that I'm going to use for my background later on. I did do this a lot larger than I needed to, but hey, it's always better to have more than it is to have less. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with the color that we have and also the texture. I've just added a little dots on there to add a little bit of texture to that as well. We also didn't have a brown in the gouache set, but that doesn't matter as well because we know when we mix the primary colors together, the 3 primary colors, which is yellow, blue, and red, it creates a brown tone. So I already had most of these mixed, so orange and green we had already mixed. So mixing those 2 together as well is going to create that brown tone that we have. So you can change the shade of your brown by adding more blue in, more brown, more red, or even more green. It's completely up to you how you want to go about that. I'm also going to go ahead and add a little bit of a yellow strip right the way down here so I can add in some flower center dies. And then I wanted some really pale pink, so I'm going to water down the little pieces of cardstock that are left. And I'm also going to add a little bit of that baby pink in. I probably should have added a little bit more because when I did finish later on, the flowers still look really, really white. So if you want more of a pink shade, add more of that pink in. Once I have all of my little pieces ready and dry, I'm then going to go ahead and cut around all of them so they're able to fit in my little mini blossom machine. So I'm just going to cut around all of the little pieces, and then I can use these to cut out my dies. So the die set that I am going to be using is the Orange Blossom die set. I love the fact that we have a fruit layered die now. And especially because it's going to be summer, and I really do like tropical fruit, so I'm really happy about this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of the dies. So for the branch that we have in the die set, I am going to go ahead and cut that out of the brown piece that we have. I'm then going to go ahead and cut my orange pieces. Now for the larger piece, the larger base layers for the oranges, I am going to go with the darkest shade of cardstock that we did create. I love the fact that we've created this cardstock and it has that variant kind of look. Because we've used gouache, there's going to be kind of different spatters on it and different color variants, and I think that gives a really natural look, and I love that fact. So once I have cut the largest pieces, I'm also going to go ahead and cut the medium size pieces that we have, and I'm cutting that from the mid shade of the cardstock that we have created. Once that has been done, we can move that over to the side, and we're going to go ahead with the lightest orange cardstock, and that's going to go ahead and cut out the smallest pieces. I really didn't need to create such a larger splatter for this one than I did, but I can use that for various different projects. None of this cardstock will go to waste. I'm then going to go ahead and cut out the leaves. So for the leaves, I'm going to cut the larger pieces out of the lightest cardstock, and then the smaller pieces out of the darker cardstock. But if you wanted to, you could cut that the other way around. If you have a lot more of the lighter color, you could definitely cut the smaller or the darker pieces out of that. It doesn't really matter which way you go ahead and cut the leaves, because it's going to kind of color half of the leaf, so it doesn't really matter at all. I'm also going to be cutting the stem and also the top of the orange out of the darkest green cardstock. I then went ahead and I cut these out a further time as well. So we're going to have 2 sets of the leaves and also 2 sets of the stems as well. As we cut 2 sets of the stems, I wanted to cut out 2 sets of the flowers as well. So I am going to cut 2 sets of the flower centers as well out of that yellow strip that we created. I am just using a touch of the satin masking tape, just so that die cut doesn't move around while it is going through the die cutting machine. So it is going to make sure that it is on all of that yellow strip, because it is a thin yellow strip that I have created here. I'm then going to go ahead and cut the little flowers that we have 2 times out of that really pale pink color that we have. Like I said, I really wish I'd added a little bit more pink just to get that pink shade onto this one. So once I have die cut all of my images, it's now time to add these on top of each other. Because we have cut these out of the cardstock that we created to be a sticker, so we had the double-sided adhesive on the back, it means that it's really quick and easy and clean to kind of put these die cuts together. I would recommend that you have your layering guide off to the side so you can quickly and easily see where these images kind of fit together or layer on top of each other. But I do think that after you've done these a couple of times, maybe 2 or 1 time, you're not going to need to look at that layering guide again, because you're just going to know where these shapes fit together. These are so easy to put together. They take no time whatsoever to create these really beautiful and cute little elements that we have here. So as you can see, I've added the oranges together, and then we also have these little flower top pips on the top of the orange, so I can pop that over to the side. As I said before, I did cut 2 kind of sets of the little flowers out. So the flower centers, it doesn't really matter which one goes on which flower. I'm a big believer in kind of mixing and matching things up a little bit, so it gives you a different look to each of the flowers. So I'm not really worried about getting those in the wrong spot, just making sure that they're in the center of a flower, and I'm good. And then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to create the little leaves. So one of the sets of leaves that I did have kind of went off the cardstock, so I have 1 less leaf, but again, I'm not going to worry too much. Crafting is all about relaxing and having fun, so if you're worrying, it's not doing its job. So just, take a breath and it'll be fine. Everything's going to be good. So once I'm happy with the little pieces all together, I'm then going to move on to my panel. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's white cardstock. And I'm going to use one of these circles from the Halftone Circles nesting die set to cut out a circle kind of window in the front, and it just needs to be larger than that blue background panel that we created. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my branch into place. Now this branch I want kind of off and then coming out of that circle. So I've just popped the edge of it, or the end, or the start, right under the panel, so it looks like it's kind of poking through that little window that we have created there. Once that's done, I can have a little play of where I want these images to go before I go ahead and pop on the sentiment. The sentiment is from the Main Squeeze stamp set, and I'm just going to ink that up using some of the obsidian ink, and I'm just going to pop that into place onto the corner of the panel. You're going to want to do that before you add any of the foam tape, so that's why I have done it now. Once that's done, I'm going to pop that panel into place onto a card base. Just add a little bit of a guideline so I can make sure when I stick my background panel into place that it is going to kind of cover that circle that we have. Once that's done, we can go ahead and then add on the foam tape. So this is going to add a little bit of lift to this panel, so it's going to add a little bit of dimension to that branch that we have. So I'm just going to kind of go ahead and add as much of the Instant Dimension foam tape from Altenew as I wish on the back, just making sure that all around that window area is kind of secured up. I'm just going to remove the backing from that and then add this into place onto the card panel, just making sure that everything lines up, and then I'm pushing that branch down onto the background because we remember it does have that sticky on it already. Once that has been done, we can just go ahead and create our little tree. So I am going to go ahead and add some of the leaves in first. Once that was done, I decided that probably the best thing to do was figure out where these little oranges were going, and then I could figure out where else I wanted the leaves to go. So I'm just going to pop in the little oranges. I haven't stuck them down. They're just kind of there for a placeholder at the minute. And then once I'm happy, I can then go ahead and stick them. So for the open orange, I did add that to the card just straight, but then I wanted the circular oranges more popped up. So because they already had adhesive on, I needed to get rid of that. To do that, I do add a little bit of talc just on that adhesive, and that is going to get rid of that stick completely. Once that's done, we can then add a little bit of foam tape just to pop up. And I really do love this technique for kind of getting stick off stickers. Maybe if you have stickers that you want to use, but you wanted them popped up rather than placed down on your card or your project, you can add a little bit of talc and that'll get rid of the stick, which is great. So once I have all of my oranges in place, I can then go ahead and add in some more of these leaves. I didn't actually use all of them, but I used quite a few, and I love how this turned out. I'm then going to go ahead and tuck in some of those flowers. I love when you tuck elements underneath other elements because it really brings the whole kind of scene together. So once I have the little flowers all into place, I'm just going to add some more little buds at the bottom, and there it is. This is the card complete. I have to say, I love how this turned out. I love the bright, vibrant tones that we created with that gouache as well. I really do hope that you've liked the card and video. If you do create something inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.